Hi again. I'd like to continue discussing our component with that we're making with UIKit and Swift, and we need to pick up like just a couple details to get the thing kind of looking the way that we want it to look, right? Hopefully, you're taking this and kind of making your own components and coming up with your own ideas, and I'm just trying to give you ideas and things to work with. But originally my component that I designed in Sketch looks like this, and it's got a background that kind of is offset from the colored area. So the colored stroke comes around like this, but the background of the stroke sits a little bit outside, right? So I'd like to add that as an inspectable property so that we can set the offset of the component in Storyboard, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to my code here and I'll go to the circle path class that we were using, and I'm going to find this inspectable property here called stroke width. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another IB inspectable property here called stroke offset, and we'll make this a CG float, and I'll give it a default value of 0. And then again, when we set this, we'll need to redraw our view. So I'll call layout subviews. Okay. So now what is this going to be? Well, what we'll do is we'll use this to calculate the width of both strokes. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down a little ways and find my setup function here. And if you put your code somewhere else, you can find that. I put everything here in setup. So I'm going to look at setup, and first of all, the radius for our arc needs to take into account the width of the stroke. Otherwise, the stroke will fall outside the box, and then we might have some rendering issues, right? So what we'll do is we'll find radius here. Here it is, right? So here we got the radius, and then here we kind of adjusted the radius for the stroke width. So what I want to do now is I want to also include the stroke offset. Okay, so I'm going to put this in parentheses so we add these two numbers together first and then divide by 2. So the radius will be, half the width of the smallest height or width of the, it'll be half the smaller value, either the height or the width of the view, right? So just think of that, if the view is a square, then this will be half the width, right? And that will put the stroke right up against the edge, but we need to subtract half the width of the actual thickness of the stroke, right? So we'll take the width of the stroke plus the offset, right? And then divide by 2, okay? So next, now we need to tell the stroke how to draw. So I'm going to go in here and we'll say shape layer line width. And normally the line width is going to be the stroke width, but let's add in the stroke offset. Okay, so now the line width will be stroke plus the offset, right? And then this shape layer is the line that draws itself. Like this is the line that changes, right? Underneath it, we have another line on this back shape layer. And this one we need to adjust also. So what we'll do is we'll go here and we'll set this equal to the stroke width. Actually, we'll just leave that. I guess we just can leave that one alone, right? So the main shape will be stroke width plus the offset, and this one will be just the stroke width. Okay? So that means if we make the offset positive, then the stroke will be wider than the background shape, and if we make the stroke offset negative, the main stroke will be smaller than the background shape, and it'll fit inside. Okay, so let's give that a try now. We'll save it and we'll go and test it in our view here, and then it's going to render there. It doesn't change any, and you can see my new variable here is let me zoom in on that, right? My new variable there is stroke offset, and what I'll do is I'll give it a value. Let's give it a value of like 8. Okay, so now you can see that the stroke here, maybe there's 4 points, like the main stroke falls 4 points outside on the left and right. If I make it -8, then the stroke on the inside falls, 4 points inside the background shape, right? And then, we can set the size of the whole stroke here. So if I need to make the whole thing bigger, I can change this one, right? So that's kind of nice. It's pretty flexible. You could make this a positive number. We'll make it like 12, right? And then maybe these colors right here could be, I got to zoom out to get the color picker there. Let's see. So maybe my color here could actually be transparent, right? And then we could see the stroke underneath it. And that might be an interesting effect, right? And so that could be like another design for this, right? So anyway, so we've got a few properties here, and if we set our properties up well and we think about how they're going to work, they can make our component a lot more interesting and give it the possibility to use in a lot of different projects, because it can be designed, like the color can change, the style of it can change, for any particular project that we're going to use, right? So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll continue and add some more features in the next video. And what I'd like to add next is a label in the middle, okay?